Good afternoon and welcome to The Rundown. I am your host, Captivating Christian, and here are some of your top stories for today, the 1st of September. The appeals court deal setback to Flynn's attempt to end the DOJ's case against him. The D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals voted 8-2 to reject Flynn's efforts to dismiss the case immediately. And busted. The Trump campaign has knowingly accepted dozens of donations from notorious neo-Nazis. And critics slam the leaked police memo about Breonna Taylor. The memo was written several weeks after Taylor's death and included details that weren't provided in the judge's search warrant application. And Trump called out by the Wall Street Journal for encouraging armed supporters to swarm the Black Lives Matter protest. Most Maryland students are starting school virtually. And co-stars to the Black Panther pay tribute to Chadwick Boseman. How do we honor a king? Let's get to the news. An appeals court has dealt a setback to Michael Flynn, President Donald Trump's first national security advisor, ruling that the district court judge can proceed with a planned hearing on the Justice Department's attempt to abandon the criminally false statement case against Flynn. The D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, setting an en-banc, voted 8-2 to reject Flynn's effort to dismiss the case immediately. The court's ruling on Monday also rejected efforts by Flynn to remove the district court judge Emmett Sullivan from the case over allegations of bias. The new decision effectively overturns a June ruling from a divided three-judge panel who backed Flynn's attempt to force an end to the prosecution. The unsigned majority opinion rejected arguments from Flynn and the Justice Department that Sullivan grievously intruded on an executive branch authority by following the planned hearing and inviting a presentation from a retired judge whom Sullivan appointed to argue against the government's motion to dismiss the case. Actions through the government's paid private lawyer, Sullivan took the unusual steps of seeking a full bench hearing for the initial appeals court decision. In the new round of litigation, Flynn picked up no votes. The only judges to side with him Monday were two Republican appointees who ruled in his favor in June: George W. Bush appointee and a Trump appointee, each of whom filed a dissent. Welcome to The Rundown. Good afternoon. I am your host, Captivating Christian, and this is Cap Hill. So, without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to any new subscribers. Make sure you hit that like button and that bell notification so you never miss another live update of any kind coming from Cap Hill. So let's get into the stories for this afternoon, shall we? So our first story comes from, of course, coming out of DC with Michael Flynn. Now, Michael Flynn, for those of you who may or may not know, was the first national security advisor for the Trump administration, newly coming into the White House. And of course, over a period of a couple of weeks, he was then removed because he was a security hazard, because he had so many secret dealings with Russians and so on and so forth. So now we're at an impasse where this federal Judge Emmett Sullivan, basically told Flynn to go back to the FBI and give them more information, that he was not satisfied with the amount of information that he gave due to the redacted Mueller report, that the judge got to see the whole report. He knew that there was more that Flynn was not being truthful about. So he gave him an option. He said, you can let me sentence you now, or you can go back and tell them more information and come back. And he was like, as of right now, he's like, I consider you to be a traitor to the United States. So your best bet is to go back and give them some more information. So due to all of this, Flynn's lawyers have been trying to get this judge removed because they say that the judge is biased. And the judge basically has always said that his first oath is to the United States and to the Constitution, and it's nothing more, nothing less. He is not a fan of Flynn, of his behavior and what he's done, but at the same time, he is trying to be as just as possible. So Flynn's lawyers have been trying to dismiss this extra part going to the trial. The DOJ has also tried to do away with it, but this circuit court judges actually ruled in the favor of the judge who is in charge of this part of the case, to where in which Flynn has to now give a testimony, and he's gotten the okay for a trial, which Flynn and his lawyer, and as well as the DOJ Attorney General, have been trying to kind of sweep it aside. So we'll see what happens with Flynn. I'm sure he's going to be pardoned pretty soon. Now that this judge has gotten the okay to actually have a trial, I don't think Trump wants anything to come out that could be damaging towards his reelection. So he might just pardon him. But I don't think he can pardon someone who hasn't been charged yet. So I think that may be a bit of a problem. But anyway, on to the next. President Donald Trump's re-election campaign has reportedly accepted donations from a notorious neo-Nazi. The Trump campaign has accepted at least $2,000 from Maurice Gillett, the head of Aryan Nation Outpost in Louisiana. In 29 separate donations dating back to December of 2017, the most recent contribution from Gillett, the leader of the White Nationalist Church of Jesus Christ, Christian, was dated May 31st, and the donations and their neo-Nazi origin were brought to the attention of the campaign way back in July of 2018. The campaign also accepted donations from a businessman, Peter Ziles, who was sued by the state of Washington for discriminating against minority applicants and forcing his racist views on employees. Ziles allegedly offered a $1,000 procreation bonus to white employees to prevent minorities from outnumbering white people in the U.S. He settled that lawsuit back in 2017 for $485,000 and agreed to end his discriminatory behavior. And here we have the next story with, of course, President Donald Trump being caught accepting donations from neo-Nazis. Now here, I am not surprised, as no one else should be, that President Donald Trump receives money from Nazi scum. This is the same president who, when Charlottesville happened, said that there were good people on both sides. So why should we even be surprised? The same president who would not condemn a 17-year-old thug for shooting up two people at a Black Lives Matter peaceful protest. Not surprised. The same president who spews hate and tells and kind of praises armed militia to show up to Black Lives Matter protests to incite fear and more hateful rhetoric to the people. So again, not surprised. He will take money from anybody, anywhere. Same person who had the scam with the Trump universities, taking the people's money and not actually giving them any kind of education or anything educational that they can use, just using the university as a money pit. So again, not surprised. So why, again, are we always surprised that he is caught or busted doing something? This is a man who has no filter, who does not care about American principles as we know them or as we were taught to know them. He runs by his own set of rules, and he's never been checked about him, and clearly he won't at 70 something years old. So obviously it's a habit for him, and this is more the reason why we need to take action this November and vote him and the rest of his gang of thugs out of office. In a leaked memo by the Louisville Metro Police Department, investigators had more evidence than previously made public, showing the connection between Breonna Taylor and the main target of the narcotics probe that led officers to barrage into her home the night she was shot dead by police. But the memo was written several weeks after Taylor's death and included details that weren't provided to the judge in the search warrant application, as well as evidence that came the night after her death, prompting critics to slam it as an effort to smear Taylor and justify the deadly police raid. The leaked memo obtained by NBC News addressed why the officers sought a warrant to enter Taylor's apartment, but says nothing about the use of force or other possible violations of the Louisville Police Department policies, such as the blind firing bullets into neighboring apartments. Taylor, 26, who was an emergency room technician, was killed after midnight of March 13th when officers broke down her door while executing a search warrant. Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, fired a shot at the front door, striking one officer. He said he believed it was a home invasion. Police opened fire, hitting Taylor 5 times. Both the FBI and the Kentucky Attorney General are investigating the shooting. Taylor, who had no criminal record, knew the target of the narcotics probe, Jamarcus Glover, as far back as 2016, when she was in her early 20s, according to the leaked police officer memo written by the detective. In the 39-page memo contained new information, including that Taylor posted Glover's bond after he was arrested back in 2017. When he was arrested again in January 2020, the memo shows that he called Taylor at least 3 times from jail. And in one call, Taylor told Glover that it's stressful for her when he's around because of his interaction with police. When Glover's car was towed in mid-February, he filed a complaint against a police officer and used Taylor's phone number as his point of contact, according to the memo. Alright, so this story with Breonna Taylor. Breonna Taylor was the young 25-year-old emergency tech who was killed in her own home. Now, there have been some stories, that come out about Breonna Taylor's new investigation as of late, that there were some ties between the perpetrator that they were looking for, her ex-boyfriend, allegedly, that they had already captured earlier that day before they went into her house and raided it with the no-knock warrant. So actually, the new information that comes up from this police memo that basically stated the connection between Taylor and the suspect that they were looking for due to the narcotics unit. However, nothing was put in the incident report by police. A lot of that was left blank. So people started to wonder, well, what was the purpose of them being there? They, lightly came out with a story that, oh, they were looking for somebody else. It was the wrong address. So now they're trying to connect Taylor to the assailant that they were looking for, that they had already apprehended. Now, of course, this is to kind of make everything justified in a sense, but the fact that they still killed a woman and can still walk around free, which is still crazy to me, and nobody's held to any kind of standard or charges when you have a blank incident report. You don't say that anything, that there were no shots fired or people was killed. You don't put that in the report. You basically open fire in an apartment complex where many other people could have been hurt. And all of these things happen, and the only thing you can focus on is that she was an actual ex-girlfriend of the assailant, and he used her number the last time he was arrested as a place of contact. So that's kind of how they connected him to her fully, by using the number that he had placed on the last time he was arrested and the numbers he had called to, maybe that's where his quote-unquote stash was. Not to mention that this whole kind of sting operation was a part of a gentrification program used for that part of the area, where they could, of course, do the regentrification and change it up. So they do it by forcing people out, either by, busing them, finding drugs, and then removing them from the property, knocking it down and building something else, or, God knows what a lot of these corporations will do to flip things over and start making money from them. So this is still unfortunate. They still want justice for Breonna Taylor, and she deserves it. So I wouldn't care if that was her husband. She had no right or no reason to be gunned down the way that she was by these thugs. And, they should answer for their crimes. Hey, this is Captivating Christian here to remind you to tune in to Politics and Wellness every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Politics and Wellness every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. You never know what you might get. The conservative Wall Street Journal's editorial board on Monday issued a stern warning to President Donald Trump about stoking tensions in the wake of a deadly shooting in Portland, Oregon. While much of the Wall Street Journal's editorial blames Portland's Mayor Ted Wheeler for letting the violence in his city get out of control, it also says that Trump needed to restore a sense of calm instead of egging on armed supporters to confront Black Lives Matter protesters. It went on to say Mr. Trump would help Portland and his own political causes more if he could call for a sense of calm on all sides. The editors went on to say that includes his own supporters who roll into Portland for a counter-protest on Saturday, according to news reports. The man who was killed in the streets was wearing a hat for Patriot Prayers, a white right-wing group that sometimes clashes with Antifa. The additional editorial pointed out that Mr. Trump should tell his supporters to stay away from Portland, Kenosha, and Wisconsin and other cities where rioters reign. All right, and once again, here we are talking about President Trump, who's been called out by the Wall Street Journal for inciting more violence at protesters by amping people up to, grab their guns and go out and disturb Black Lives Matter protests with, an opposition and go with loaded weapons in hand. This just again incites more violence. And when people say, oh, there's not a race war, well, this is kind of sparking those talks of having a race war when you have the person at the top saying, hey, go do this and I will protect you. Almost as if he said before when he was running for president, if he went to and shot someone on Fifth Avenue, he would get away with it. This is the same kind of mantra that he's feeding to his base, that hey, if you go out at these protests and defend yourself or defend the United States, we will protect you and give you cover. This is the reason why that 17-year-old thug thought it was okay to protect businesses when he really went to Wenosha to possibly kill protesters, which he was successfully doing so. Killed 2 people, wounded a third. So, we already know that this is something that happens. And again, I mentioned once before, previously, a couple days ago, that do we not forget that Sarah Palin was putting crosshairs on many members of the Democratic House of Representatives, so much so that in Arizona, a young man went into a town hall meeting where Gabby Giffords was giving a town hall speech and shot her in her head, I believe, causing her to be permanently disabled. So I really don't understand where politicians don't get it, that your language speaks to millions. And although everybody doesn't jump up and, grab their gun to defend the United States of America because you say something, there is always a person who thinks that they're doing not only the country a service, but you as the elected official, they're doing you a service. They are praising you for what you've done. They're telling you, this is what I'm going to do for you, for your country, for me being a part of society and contributing to your cause. This is what I'm going to do to help further your cause. And it causes violence. This is something that has become not uncommon here in these United States. And I think, the people causing the violence and unrest should be held accountable. If that be the president or any other lawmakers, they need to be held accountable. They can't just say things and think, oh, well, nobody's really going to do it, and then they do it, and it's like, oops, no, we can't do that. We're too grown for that. This country is different, and if it's not different, we need to make it different. And be sure to join Jay Wilson, Rebel Son, The Official Kingpin, Conscious TV, and Captivating Christian this and every Thursday at 6:45 Central Standard Time, 7:45 Eastern Standard Time for the Gentleman's Panel, where we are not afraid to go there and discuss an array of topics. See you there. Students in Prince George's County, Montgomery County, and Frederick County will begin school virtually for the 2020-2021 school year. Also, students in Charles County, Queen Anne's County, Washington County, and the Seed School of Maryland head back to school. For more information about the school's reopening dates in your county, please go to the Maryland Department of Education's website. All right, so here in Maryland, Maryland schools have started their first day of school virtually. Now, many other schools have started either virtual learning or in person learning. However, in person learning has been somewhat difficult for a lot of schools, even universities, to kind of kick off the ground. What is happening is a lot of in person schools. Uh, for the first couple days, even the first week of school, the level of coronavirus infections have risen. They started off with a few, and by the end of the week, you're at like double digit numbers to let us all know that Corona is still alive and kicking, and she's not going nowhere. Her boots are made for walking, and she's going to walk all over these United States. So, with that, some smarter educators and educational programs have decided to go virtual. This has been the first couple days of the virtual learning, and we'll see how this goes. A lot of the teachers, however, have been reporting to the classroom. That way, there is not much distraction from their outside elements, so they can focus on teaching the students. So, like I said before, you can check the Maryland Department of Education to check when your virtual learning for your county and area starts, as well as other states. I believe you can check on the website for the Department of Education, clicking your particular state, and it should lead you to that information as well. Hope everyone has a great and prosperous and educational filled school year. Danai Gurira shared a heartfelt and lengthy tribute to her Black Panther co-star Chadwick Boseman, who died Friday from colon cancer at the age of 43. In the 2018 blockbuster, the actress portrayed a fierce warrior who protected Wakanda and its king, T'Challa, played by Boseman. She wrote, and I quote, "How do you honor a king? Reeling from the loss of my colleague, my friend, my brother. Struggling for words, nothing feels adequate," the actress wrote on social media. "I always marveled at how special Chadwick was, how much of a pure-hearted, profoundly generous, regal, fun guy." ABC will air a commercial-free screening of Black Panther on Sunday as a tribute to Boseman. It will then be followed by a special celebrating Boseman's life, legacy, career, and the cultural imprint he's made both on and off the screen. He will also be honored by celebrities, political figures, and fans across the world who were touched by his work and the man himself. Over the weekend, of course, we lost a great superhero by the name of Chadwick Boseman. He died at the age of 43 due to colon cancer, which nobody knew he was battling for 4 years. And that's why, people say you should never judge a book by its cover, but you never know what that book is actually going through in those pages. So, it's never good to judge someone or to look down on people because you never know their struggle. So with that said, of course, co-stars from the Black Panther movie sent out their tributes, and Danai Gurira, who played, I always mess this name up, sorry, Okoye, sent out a tribute. She played the one of the female warriors that was like the personal guards to the king, and there were some bad women, let me tell you. So she sent a heartfelt message, basically saying how generous and kind-hearted and what a great man Chadwick Boseman was. But you can also see that through his works, from 42 to James Brown to Thurgood Marshall, bringing a new audience to these great individuals of history. and introducing these young people to these leaders in their own right was a great thing, and he will be sorely, completely, and utterly missed. Death is always hard, and especially unexpected in many cases. But it is always great to leave a legacy and a lasting impression on the world that you've touched someone along your journey in life. So with that, we salute you, and Wakanda forever. Peace. And once again, thank you for watching CCN Midday News. Hope you enjoyed. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also hit that notification button so you will never miss another news update. Have a great day. Peace.